Alright guys, so one of the most asked questions to me for the past few days has always been, what is happening with the cryptocurrency situation in China?
You can see all of this quite clearly because the first bad news from China with the Evergrande crisis caused the dump that happened roughly at around Monday for Ethereum from 3,300 all the way down to 2,700. That was the first wave. Then the second wave here was with the China ban on crypto, and that happened on Friday, and yet it took Ethereum down from 3,000 all the way down to 2,700. And you can see that the market hasn't really changed that much since then. There seems to be like an invisible sell wall. So every time we see Ethereum moving above 3,100, prices get suppressed down. So now the biggest question is this FUD, or the fear and uncertainty and doubt coming out of China, is that real, or is that all just made up by mainstream media?
So this is kind of the point of this series, which is to fill you guys in what's happening really in China, so we don't get some weirdo random stuff like, oh, China's banning Bitcoin because of environmental concern. I mean, let's be real here. Have you ever heard a Chinese person say, yeah, I want to pass up that opportunity to make a lot of money because, I want to protect the environment? Honestly, this move on crypto has to do with how money moves in and out of China, and also China's attempts to both control the outflow of money and also control what citizens are doing and spending their money on. Which is why Evergrande, the company that caused the global stocks to crash for a few days last week, where that comes into the big picture, because Evergrande has a huge impact on what China's policies are for the upcoming months, and that affects both in the stock market and also in the crypto market as well. So this is the point of this whole video series, is to fill you guys on what is happening. And to start off this video series, we're just going to recap what happened with the Evergrande crisis. And we sent Jemmy out to do a lot of research on this, and she's really well briefed. So anyways, this video is all about Evergrande. And then in the upcoming videos, we're going to talk about how that affects crypto and what is the current situation in crypto right now.
So, Evergrande, this is so huge and everyone is talking about it, how it would be the next Lehman Brothers, and people are so scared of having a Lehman moment again because if the market crashes, everything would crash, including crypto. Unfortunately, the crypto market is not completely isolated with the global market, at least not at this stage. So, in this episode, let's spend some time talking about Evergrande and more importantly, China. Evergrande is one of China's largest real estate developers, and so far its stock price has been plummeting toward defaulting on its debts. So how much is Evergrande owing exactly, and how big of a deal is this event? The company aggressively expanded with reckless abandon and is now the most indebted property developer in the world, owing more than $300 billion. Evergrande attempts to recover by liquidating assets and cutting back operations, but the damage was done, and the fact is they don't even have the money to pay their interest, let alone the principal amount. And what happened is Evergrande's share price dropped by 80% this year, and the market cap dropped by $40 billion last year to under $4 billion, which forced the company to almost unilaterally halt construction across China. Of course, suppliers and employees are not going to be happy with it, and they end up protesting in front of Evergrande headquarters demanding payment. And trust me when I say a protest in China is very, very unlikely. They also began paying investors with property as they obviously struggled to come up with the money. However, this move to pay investors with property exacerbates another problem. They end up owing 1.6 million apartments to people who have already paid their cash deposits, which means if Evergrande is going down, these folks would likely lose their deposit. There are some conflicting reports coming out from China. On one hand, it's reported the Chinese authority have asked local government to prepare for Evergrande collapse, but on the other hand, the Chinese central bank has been pumping $19 billion into the country's banking system. This, however, cannot be considered as a direct bailout, because the Chinese government was only injecting liquidity. Evergrande missed a bond interest payment on 24th of September and has another coupon payment of $47.5 million due on 29th of September, and ahead of this payment deadline, Evergrande announced it will be selling off 1.5 billion stake in Shenzhen Bank to a state-owned asset management firm. And for the rest of the year, Evergrande still has interest payments due each month in October, November, and December, even though the company will not technically default unless it fails to make that payment within 30 days of the due date. The move of selling off the $1.5 billion stake in Shenzhen seems like they're buying more time. And the question is, why is this all happening now? Well, the truth is, it has been going on for quite a while now, as they have been taking a lot of debt in order to grow on a faster pace, but at the same time, the sales have been steadily decreasing since June. China has originally made it very easy to borrow money, especially if you are in the real estate sector. They want more affordable housing for their citizens, so they actually encouraged real estate developers to borrow more money. But then in 2020, which is last year, China abruptly changed the rule, went from borrowing friendly to basically targeting highly leveraged real estate developer, and introduced the 3 red lines. In short, the 3 red lines policy is to force deleveraging to improve financial health for the real estate sector. And guess what? Evergrande broke all 3 lines. It had a liability to asset ratio of more than 70%, net debt to equity ratio of more than 100%, and a cash holdings to short-term debt ratio of less than 100%. In other words, the Chinese government created this policy and sent Evergrande to the brink of collapse. Is this a rug pull? Evergrande's model would have worked as long as it could keep building and selling at an inexorable rate. It could borrow to buy land, get homeowners to buy off the plans, and then borrow again to start another project. However, since it's targeted by the Chinese government, it had to sell the properties quickly and cheaply. In a market filled with investors nervous about a property downturn, it has not been able to find enough buyers, which end up, you guessed it, highly in debt.
Alright, thanks Jimmy for that really amazing overview of what's happening with Evergrande. The word is on the street is that Beijing is just going to let Evergrande and a lot of the property developers sweat for a little bit before a major bailout happens, and then the government can just kind of purchase more of these companies so they become state-owned. That seems to be the case right now, and that seems to be what's stopping the stock markets from kind of bleeding out over the next few days. The priority for Evergrande repayments are always to the citizens. So if you look at the recent news, just around 60 minutes ago, Evergrande made a partial payment to the high-yield debt investors that invested in Evergrande. So those are mostly citizen-based. So you can kind of see how the order of priorities goes here. Basically covers the normal citizens, then the main investment groups in China, and then probably overseas. That's usually how these things play out. Now, does this have a huge implication, and does this really matter? It really does, because what happened with Evergrande has a huge impact on Chinese real estate market. And the problem is that real estate market is just so massive. I think it's hard for most people to comprehend, but think about it this way. It's 20% of China's entire GDP, and also 30 to 40% of the Chinese government's income. This is quite important because the government will do whatever they can to protect the property market from tanking and going under, which also means that the government will try whatever they can to stop currency from leaving China. Well, here's where crypto kind of unfortunately got caught in the crossfire. Crypto is a way for both investors to invest in a new asset class, and also, more importantly, for investors to move money out of China as well. So China is very eager on closing that hole right now. It's almost regarded as a loophole. And for those of you guys who don't know, China has a foreign currency policy called SAFE, which prevents a single citizen from moving more than 50,000 US dollars worth of currencies out of China. Now, crypto, as you guys know, you can just send that anywhere around the world. It has that power and it's decentralized. It's not controlled by the Chinese government. This is why it's becoming rapidly into that crosshair of a potential avenue for currency to leave China. So China is trying to, as fast as they can, to close that loophole to stop people from buying crypto and, of course, trying to stop them from moving finances out of the country. And that's it for the first video on our coverage of what's happening in China, and we're going to release more videos as the situation progresses to keep you guys updated. Now, obviously, guys, if you like videos like this, make sure you click the like button down below, click the subscribe button. It really does help both the channel and help you get notified when an update to the situation comes out. And lastly, of course, I would like to hear what you guys think about this video and the style of content. The way I take it is this is a journey to make better content. Obviously, being a content creator, I know that not everything is going to be perfect from day one. So we're trying really hard here, and I hope you guys enjoy it. If you do and do not have any suggestions, leave a comment down below. We'll see you in the next video.